Hi again. I just wanted to take a really quick moment and just briefly walk you through the structure of this online Canvas course. Question I often get is I've already taken a general biology 2 lecture or I've already taken the lab. Just so everyone is clear, at the Maricopa County Community Colleges, all of our lectures and labs are inextricably linked. Okay, so you can't separate them. So this Canvas shell has everything you need for both the lecture and the lab component. It's just one grade, and the grade that you earn in 182 will show on your transcript for both the lecture and lab component. So this is the landing page or the home page. When you very first log in, this is where you land. It's got some really important information on here, so please take a moment at least once and read through the information below on the home page. So it's going to have important dates for when the introduction module is due, which is midway through the first week. Typically, it's a Wednesday. And you can see on this particular section in this particular year, those three assignments: the syllabus acknowledgement quiz, the brief video discussion introducing yourself, and the online hybrid badge assignment, where if you already got it, you just upload it. Those three things are going to be due midweek, your first week, and that's the record of attendance that you are engaged in the course. So if those aren't submitted, I have no choice, but I have to drop you from the course. Typically, it's on Thursday or Friday the first week to make room for those on the waiting list. Important information on the homepage. Be sure and check it out. In terms of the day-to-day logistics, you're usually going to, almost always, you're going to go right up here to the top left to the modules. So that's how you really get into the course. Modules on the top left. Or you can just scroll down the home page, and at the bottom you'll see a table with links to all 8 of your Canvas modules. That's the second way. So if we click on Module 1, this is what all 8 of the content modules look like. They're all structured exactly the same, so hopefully it's consistent and it's easy to navigate. Right out of the gates, I hope you recognize that everything is chronologically ordered. So you're going to start with learning activity 1.1, and then 1.2, and then virtual laboratory, and you're going to move right through each of your assignments. So if you are in a spring or a fall section at Estrella Mountain Community College, you're going to do one module every 2 weeks. Hence, week 1, we're applying the scientific method to living organisms. Week 2, we're focused on the shared characteristics and hierarchical organization of living organisms. But as I mentioned before, if you're in a summer section, then it's one module per week. So you'll do an entire module per week. Okay? All modules look exactly the same. There are 4 learning activities: 1.1, 1.2, 2.1, 2.2. There are 2 laboratories per module: Virtual Laboratory 1, Virtual Laboratory 2. There are 2 discussions, and then 1 assessment, which is focused on that module. And then lastly, there's 2 extra credit opportunities at the bottom of every module. So, really important, take a look now at the point distributions. I want to see every single person that takes this class get an A. But you got to earn it, okay? And you really need to pay attention to how the points are distributed. The learning activities, again, there are 4 of those. Those are really where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. So this is where you're going to engage with the content. These are relatively low stakes assignments. They're worth 25 points apiece, 4 per module. That's 100 points, okay? The virtual laboratories or case studies or virtual dissections, they're all deemed a laboratory of some sort. Those are worth double the amount of a learning activity. Those are worth 50 points. And this is where you're going to apply the knowledge that you gain through the learning activity. The discussions, they're only worth 10 points. They're really low stakes. And honestly, if you make a video post, you're probably going to get full credit, a video post and a reply to a classmate. They're meant to be kind of like comic relief, like super entertaining and engaging and fun. We'll talk more about the discussions, but those are only worth 10 points, okay? So don't spend hours working on a discussion post. And then lastly, look right here. Module 1 assessment, just like all 8 of your assessments, are worth 250 points apiece. So what that means is assessments are a big deal. You want to prepare for them. Assessments are worth as much as all of the learning activities, laboratories, and discussions from that module combined. Okay, so assessments are just over 50% of your grade. Another thing I want to point out, assignments are always due on Sunday at 11:59 p.m. So you can see week 1, this particular semester, Sunday falls on August 31st. Okay. The next week, all of the learning activities, the lab, and the assessment due on September 7th, that next Sunday at 11:59. The extra credit due on the last day of class, December 17th. 2 exceptions to the Sunday rule. The first week of class, the introductory module, typically due on Wednesday or Thursday, depending upon when that semester starts, either Monday or Tuesday, but it's due midweek. And then finals week, typically most semesters, your 182 class is going to end on a Wednesday, midweek. All right, let's take a closer look at what a learning activity entails. This is the very first one you'll do, 1.1, the defining qualities of the scientific process. So remember, in each module, there are 4 learning activities, 2 per week in a 16-week class, 4 per week in an 8-week class. So learning activities are best described as low stakes, multimedia, online worksheets. So in addition to the over 150 visually engaging mini lectures that I've created and embedded throughout these learning activities, I've also incorporated really cool activities, current primary research, fascinating short YouTube videos, and then fundamental biology readings from a whole bunch of different sources that I've curated and organized for you. And then loads of what I think are beautiful photographs. So my hope in building these is that they'll inspire you to love biology the way I do by really bringing biology to life. So I like to think of these learning activities as nature shows with built-in questions. So these learning activities were created using the quiz function in Canvas. That said, these are not It's just a way to incorporate some questions for you into the content. Learning activities are not timed. Notice that there's no time limit here. So work at your own pace. Do a little bit in the morning, do a little bit later in the afternoon, do it in the middle of the night, as I know many of y'all probably will, okay? Note that Canvas is going to auto save all of your answers. So you can exit the learning activity anytime you want and come back to it later. However, when you click submit, then those answers are fixed. You can come back and you can change your answers at any time and it will resave it for you. You can even flag answers that you're not sure about and then come back and look at them later. But at the very bottom of the page, that's where you find the submit quiz button. Once you submit it, then it is submitted. The good part is all of the learning activities are auto graded. So they're all going to be multiple choice, fill in the blank, matching, labeling diagrams, identifying organisms. So when you click submit quiz, you're going to get an instant score. You're not going to have to wait for your score. And then it's also going to tell you why each of the answers was the right answer. And you may take these things twice. So after submitting, if you want to check out the right answers and go back and redo the quiz and get full credit, then go for it. Expect the learning activities to take about an hour to as much as 2.5 hours for some of them, depending upon, how quickly you work. Again, learning activities are due on Sunday at 11:59 p.m. I want to point out that learning activities will be available for up to 2 weeks after their due date. If you turn in a learning activity within 1 week of its due date, so less than 1 week late, then you're penalized 30%. Okay, so that's 7.5 points right off the top, in addition to whatever you get. If you're more than 1 week late and less than 2 weeks late, then you're automatically penalized 50% or 12.5 points. So this is to be fair to all of those students that are managing their time and submitting their work in on time. That said, you can submit late work, less than 1 week late, 30% penalty, less than 2 weeks, but more than 1 week is a 50% penalty. And then one last thing before we move on, I've highlighted key ideas for each learning activity. So these are really the big ideas that I suggest that you focus on and maybe even jot down a few notes on. So if it is a key idea, if it's identified as a key idea, chances are really high that you are going to see that idea again on your assessment. So essentially, I'm building the review sheet for the assessment into the learning activities. So students always ask, can I get a review sheet? The review sheet is at the beginning of each learning activity. So for example, key idea on 1.1, as scientists, what do we require before accepting an explanation describing a pattern in the natural world? And the answer is, as scientists, we require empirical evidence. That's a test question. Okay, so I've opened up learning activity 1.1 so you kind of get a sense of what you're in for. So I've created these little, what I call mini lectures, these little short 3 to maybe 6 minute videos in YouTube. Again, it's all embedded within this Canvas quiz. A little bit of advice: if I took the time to craft a video and I have bright yellow bulleted points on my slides, that's probably key information that's going to show up on your assessment. So question number 2, here you can see I have a short video about science as a process that is rooted in skepticism. I pasted question 4 up because you can see that adorable mug there, and I'm not talking about myself. This is what I call a creature feature. So I've got these built in throughout the entire course to try and illustrate big ideas. This is Azul. Azul is our blue-tongued skink. So I try to include as many of the animals from the lab as possible into this online course. Question 5, great example of a short YouTube video. So you're going to find lots of curated YouTube videos. Typically, they're going to have a question associated with them just to ensure that you watch them. The question on your right-hand side, I've also tried to do this frequently in the learning activities, and that's to bring in abstracts and figures and graphs from the primary literature. So the primary scientific literature, these are the peer-reviewed scientific journals. So that's a look kind of at what your learning activity content is going to look like. So each week in a 16-week class, you're going to complete 1 virtual laboratory, or you'll do 2 laboratories per week in the summer class. One of the goals of the laboratories is to provide students with opportunities to meet scientists. So I have a series of labs that I've entitled Scientists at Work. So there are certainly limitations of an online class, right, in terms of doing labs, but there's also some real positive attributes. And one of them is we can go anywhere in the world to see scientists in the field doing science. So really cool, engaging scientists at work laboratories embedded throughout the course, where you'll meet the biologist and learn about their research. You'll be tasked with thinking about testing research questions, how experiments are performed, how data is collected and analyzed, and how best to interpret and research findings. So the whole idea is to put you in the shoes of a scientist. Another cool set of labs that I've built into the structure and function modules are virtual dissections. So your online course includes a subscription to eMind software. So I have a whole series of virtual dissections from plants to invertebrates like starfish and earthworms to the vertebrates like the lamprey, the perch, and the fetal pig. So expect to do some virtual dissections. I wanted to put outdoor laboratory number 9. This is in week 9 in spring and fall. This will be in week 4 during the summer. Wanted to put this one on your radar. This is the Diversity of Plants Photography Portfolio. So I have 2 assignments that are going to require you to get outdoors, and you're going to use the app iNaturalist, probably my favorite app of all time. And you're going to go out and you're going to document both plant and then eventually for your capstone, animals that live around you. So be prepared to get outside. And then in the population and community ecology module, I will be presenting my graduate work. So I have a couple of case studies. Both my elk and black bear research is coming soon to a theater near you. All right, so let's talk about those discussions. So my whole intention with our weekly discussions, which I've deemed the Connect, the Celebrate, and Conserve video discussion series, is to build meaningful and purposeful online communities. You know, I have a really hard time writing letters of recommendation for students that I've never actually seen, and I get a lot of them. So this is how I'm going to get to know you, and you're going to get to know me. Okay. So, my goal is to help you get into the habit of connecting the content you're learning about in Bio 182 to either your personal experiences, your individual explorations, and also then to teach you to hone your communication skills in sharing your thoughts with others. So, the way to think about these discussions, these are like just little informal conversations that you would inevitably have with lab mates if you were sitting next to them in an in person section. Okay. These assignments are very, very low stakes. You get 5 points for posting a video between 1 and 3 minutes, and you get 5 points for posting a video reply to one of your classmates. Okay. For these discussions, each one of them is going to focus on some really cool organism, and it's going to have a lot of information about that organism. So it looks like the Sonoran desert toad comes up right away. You do not need to read all of the information about the desert toad, nor will you be assessed on that information. What I want you to do is pick and choose. Just learn about whatever sounds interesting to you, and then talk about what you learned and connect it to something that you've learned about in the content or some personal experience that you have. Okay. Easy points. So get your discussion points, get your 10 points every week. These are easy points. Okay. So in spring and fall sections, every 2 weeks, you're going to have a summative module assessment. In a summer class, you're going to have one assessment per week. Module assessments are completely derived from the learning activities and the virtual laboratories in that module. They are going to very closely align with the material that I have presented to you in learning activities and that you've applied in your labs. Okay, really important. You're going to like this. You are allowed one standardized cheat sheet, one piece of paper, both front and back, okay, that you can use as a cheat sheet. You can handwrite whatever you want on said cheat sheet, or you can print whatever you like on the cheat sheet and shrink it up. Okay. Also, you are required to use Respondus Lockdown Browser, and you will need to have a webcam which will be incorporated as a monitor, a webcam monitor. Hopefully in some of your other online classes, you're familiar with our Respondus software. Okay. You will show your cheat sheet at the beginning of the assessment when you do your environment check for Respondus. Module assessments are typically 45 to 50 problems. You can see Module 1 is 47 problems. They are worth 250 points, which is a large point sum, and they are auto-graded, so you will get instant feedback. On that note, I think I neglected to mention that your virtual laboratories are not auto-graded. So on those, you're going to be composing short answers, essay-type questions, or completing diagrams and such that I will grade. And my aim is always to get your virtual laboratories back to you within 1 week of submission. Your video discussions, clearly not auto-graded. I'll be personally taking a look at those. But your assessments and your learning activities, you'll get very quick feedback. So again, I cannot stress enough, spend some time and compile the most important information from every module onto a cheat sheet and use those key ideas that I present at the beginning of the learning activity and the virtual labs to help you craft that cheat sheet. At the end of the semester, on the very last day of the semester, you'll submit your Bio 182 capstone project. It's called the Photography Portfolio, Celebrating Biodiversity and Conservation. I've decided to make this capstone project in lieu of a cumulative assessment. So I thought you might enjoy that. It is 100 points, so it's a high value assignment. And you're going to go out for the capstone and you're going to capture 25 images of different organisms that illustrate different content that we've gone over throughout the course of the semester. So you can visit a local zoo, you can visit a pet store, you can visit a green space or maybe a county park, get outside and do some hiking. Lots of places where you can get your photographs, okay? More on the capstone. I'll actually introduce that mid-semester, and there's lots of information on the capstone page assignment. I've also tried to build in quite a bit of extra credit. So at the end of every module, there's a 10-point assignment. There are a wide variety of assignments. Some of them are interesting videos with short quizzes that align with the video. Some of them are videos that I've made just on crazy topics that I find interesting, like exobiology and the search for life on other planets. And then some of them are scientists at work, learning activity style extra credit assignments that I just couldn't fit in to the course. So these extra credit assignments are worth 10 points, even though they say they're 0. That's how many points they're out of. So you'll get 10 points if you complete the biology of skin color. You'll get 10 out of 0. So you're having 10 additional points added on to your score. And then lastly, I have one kind of big money extra credit assignment, if you will. You're allowed to do one of these per semester. And I have 8 different books that I have changed me, have had a big time impact on me and my thinking. And so the ask is that you'll read one of these books and you'll craft a 2-page essay. That's about 1,000 words that demonstrates that you read the book. But also, I really want to know what you think about it. Like, how do these ideas connect to your life experiences? The one thing that I do not want on these books, on your labs, on any sort of open-ended questions is I do not want artificial intelligence. I want to know what you think. Okay, so there will be consequences for using AI, and I've got some more information about that in the syllabus. But in Biology 182, the expectation is that we will not be using AI. All right, and we're almost done. Hopefully this was helpful. Really quickly, this is the Getting Started module, and I just wanted to remind you that you have 3 assignments that are due midweek, the first week, and this is how you engage with the class. You demonstrate that you're here, that you're present, that you're in attendance, and you're accounted for. Again, if you do not complete the assignments in the introductory module, then you can be dropped from Bio 182. You will be dropped from Bio 182 so that we can make room for folks on the waiting list. Awesome. As always, if you have specific questions, please don't hesitate to shoot me an email. Hopefully, this was helpful. Thank you.